Welcome to the Webb Report. My name is Stuart Webb. Today I wanted to talk about Trump's new threat to Iran. It says here, Trump issues chilling new warning to Iran, quote, whole country will get blown up. This is what he told Fox News, and this is regards to the ceasefire. It says in his post, Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. So if you aren't aware, the United States and Iran are technically in a ceasefire right now. They've agreed to a ceasefire of 14 days. And that started April 8th, because on April 7th, that was the post by Donald Trump that said the whole civilization could end tonight. Making a threat, hey, if you don't enter into a deal with us or some sort of agreement with us, then, bad things will happen, essentially. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, each day things tend to be, there seems to be instability constantly, global instability, on a lot of different levels. And the scriptures talk about this. They tell us about us. They prophesy about this. If you go to section 88 of the Doctrine and Covenants, it says right here in verse 91, and all things shall be in commotion, and surely men's hearts shall fail them, for fear shall come upon all people. And angels shall fly through the midst of heaven, crying with a loud voice, sounding the trump of God. The trump of God. Okay? Saying, prepare ye, O inhabitants of the earth, for the judgment of our God is come. Behold, and lo, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. So the reason why I emphasized the word Trump is because Donald Trump is the most famous person on earth, one of the most powerful people on earth, at least surface level, and it's a sign of the times, okay? And in this section, it mentions the word referring to the end times and, prophecies to be fulfilled. It uses the word Trump 18 times in section 88 of the Doctrine and Covenants, okay? And I don't think that's an accident. And if you go over to section 45 of the Doctrine and Covenants, I believe it's, okay, yeah. So section 45, and in that day shall be heard wars and rumors of wars, and the whole earth shall be in commotion, and men's hearts shall fail them, and they shall say that Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the earth. It also says, I believe in verse 45, it mentions the word trump again, but before the arm of the Lord shall fall, an angel shall sound his trump, and the saints that have slept shall come forth to meet him in the cloud. So I believe that the word trump is being used. It's a symbolic thing, right? So it's being used not to refer necessarily directly to Donald Trump, but it's saying that so we understand that the scriptures are trying to tell us the signs of the times. That it's using that term symbolically, and we can look to, okay, yeah, maybe they're not referring to Trump directly, but they're using the term because that's showing us a symbol, right? It's a symbol of the signs of the times, right? And it talks in 88 about, the judgment of God has come, right? So I do believe that we're experiencing a portion of God's judgment right now. And Donald Trump might be a part of the judgment of God upon us, actually, in some ways. So, and the reason why I wanted to focus on the word commotion is because if you, basically, the world is in commotion. It's unstable. It's very clear to see. Day by day, it's similar to when, the shutdowns were happening in 2020. Every day there was just like things were just totally unstable from one day to the next, right? And that's what's happening now again, right? And it's kind of been that way since 2020, but like there's been spurts of seasons where all things are in commotion. And in my opinion, that this is just how it's going to be until Christ comes. All things will be in commotion, and where you're going to find stability and find a good foundation, a rock to where you can stabilize your family is Jesus Christ and his teachings and his gospel and making covenants with God, and putting your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. So that's why I wanted to talk about this, because when I see stuff like this now, it's a sign of the times. That's what it is. And just reading the scriptures, 18 times in this section, the word Trump appears. Okay. And I just think the scriptures have many levels, right? So, and they can be used to inform us on different levels and speak to our spirits, those with eyes to see. They can see certain things. The scriptures have many levels. That's why Isaiah is multi-leveled, right? Prophecies can be fulfilled multiple times in different ways, at different times, for different times and seasons. The scriptures are full of just levels and layers of ways we can learn and how God speaks to us. That's how he's able to speak to us all at different levels of our journey and of our testimony. But the scriptures are so full of just upliftment and edification. Yes, these times we're talking about, the end times that can be scary, but ultimately the scriptures point us to Christ, right, and his gospel. And so although in these end times, they can feel scary, but if you're anchored in Christ, and you're not relying on political saviors you're not relying on like a government to, you're not putting your faith and trust in the arm of flesh in a government to keep you safe. That's where you should be. You should have your faith and trust in God. And so then things aren't nearly as scary. So when Trump says stuff like this, things like this he obviously has fulfilled and followed through with a lot of his threats, and he uses it as a negotiation tactic, and he uses it for all his erratic behavior. He uses it to get what he wants. And so I'm not saying that what he says doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It's some of these things he's proven that he's willing to do, right? But what I'm trying to say is that it's, regardless of what he does, we don't have to put our faith and trust in governments and people. We need to put our faith in Jesus Christ. And I wanted to talk also about kind of the reason why, in my opinion, this stuff is happening. So if you've ever heard of the petrodollar, it's international spending or investment of a country's revenues from petroleum. It generally refers to the phenomenon of major petroleum export states, mainly the OPEC members plus Russia and Norway, earning more money from their export of crude oil than they could efficiently invest in their own economies. The resulting global interdependence of financial flows from oil producers back to oil consumers can reach a scale of hundreds of billions of US dollars per year, including a wide range of transactions and a variety of currencies, some pegged to the US dollar and some not. So what that means is basically most oil transactions are done in dollars. But the few countries that don't use US dollars or heavily use other currencies, well, guess what? those countries are Iran and Venezuela, the two countries we invaded and attacked this year within a couple of years. So, and then there's China, right? Which is that's kind of an interesting thing. Is there going to be a conflict later? Potentially. But that's the reason why this is all happening. It's not really about oil. It's not really about a nuclear bomb. It's about control and power. So that's my opinion. That's what I believe. It's really about that. And you know, I'm not saying I'm not saying the government of Iran is a good government. I'm sure they violate the natural rights of their citizens in a lot of ways. But it needs to be the people that demand their rights within that nation. And they need to have sovereignty. And yes, they need to be peaceful. They shouldn't be attacking other countries or funding terrorism, things like that. Of course not. But this whole conflict that we have going on, I don't believe that the Iranian people are going to receive their rights, their natural rights. I don't think they're going to be protected. Maybe some will find some liberty. I hope and pray that they do. But this is about control. This is about control of the monetary system to where everyone has to be under this new world order regime where you can't opt out of it. And so that's really what these conflicts are about. So keep your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, and remember that Jesus Christ is the author of liberty, and he wants your natural rights to be protected. So me being able to speak my mind on the internet, he wants my freedom of speech to be protected and everyone else's as well. So we need, if we want to be true followers of Christ, we should not be violating people's natural rights. Oh, and I also wanted to add, I forgot to say it while I was going through this, but in Doctrine and Covenants Section 45, in verse 45, it mentions the word Trump. And I just thought it was interesting because Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States. So again, God uses symbols to speak to his children. And I don't know, it just feels like that wasn't a coincidence that, Section 45, verse 45 mentions the word Trump, but in this whole section it's talking about the end times and how all things will be in commotion. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting.